Hello everyone!
Kamusta? Magandang araw.
Today we will be making this soft and fluffy loaf bread. This will be a longer video because we will be showing the whole process. I promise that this will be easy to follow and most of the ingredients are already available in your pantry. And just make sure that all of them are in room temperature except for the water or milk that we need it to be warm. Make sure to use an instant dry yeast for this recipe. Also, make sure that all of the ingredients are available within reach. It's really easy. All we need is just mix all of the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. Okay, so these are the ingredients. We need 3 cups of flour. You can use bread flour or all-purpose flour, or you can use 70% bread, 30% all-purpose flour. We need a cup of warm water or warm milk, and then we need 1 egg that is in room temperature. We will also be needing 2 tablespoons of oil. You can use palm, vegetable, or coconut oil. Next is 2 tablespoons of white sugar, 1/4 teaspoons of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of brown sugar, or you can use 1 teaspoon. 1 tablespoon of melted butter, and 1 tablespoon of softened butter. We also need 7 grams or 2 teaspoons and 1/4 of instant dry yeast. So you have all of the ingredients ready and all you need to do is just mix them all together. You also need to have a clean workspace where you can knead the dough later and a mixing bowl, a whisk, and a spatula. So let's start with mixing all of the dry ingredients. So I am just going to pour 3 cups of flour into the mixing bowl. So when you don't scoop the flour, it is required that you pour the flour into the cup and then you just level it. This is to make sure that we actually get 1 cup. You probably need 3 cups and 1/4 or 1/2 for this. You'll have to reserve 1/4 or 1/2 later on to sprinkle the workspace, the kneading area. Sprinkle your hand with flour. But for the recipe, you will only be needing 3 cups flour. Okay, now that you have the flour, you can now mix in all of the dry ingredients. Here, I'm adding in the instant dry yeast first, and then all of the sugar and the salt. I'm now adding in the oil. I'm using coconut oil. And before I add all of the rest of the wet ingredients, I'm mixing them all and want to make sure that the yeast is incorporated. And then I will continue to add the rest of the wet ingredients. So I mentioned earlier that you can use 1 cup of warm water or 1 cup of warm milk. If you decide to use milk, the result will be a little bit dense. But if you use water, it's going to be more fluffy. So once you have all of the ingredients in, all you need to do is just mix them all in. Make sure they are mixed very well. And then you just form them into a bowl and pour it into your working space so that we can knead it. Yeah, when everything is sticking around, you probably need a spatula. Okay, now the mixture is ready to be kneaded. You just sprinkle some flour on your workspace and then pour in the mixture. You are now prepping the dough to be kneaded. So just press it in and make sure that all of the mixture are all mixed together. You can feel it when you press it in and it's no longer wet. You can add more flour until all of the mixture are well incorporated and it's no longer crumbly. You see that? You can still see crumbs. You can keep folding it in and pressing it in. When you press it in, you're adding air and that will make the bread, that's also what's making the bread fluffy. So now I can feel that it's ready to be kneaded. I'm adding more flour and then making sure that it's no longer wet and not sticking on my workspace. And so when you knead, you just press half, you fold half, and then you knead, and then you turn it around as you go. And then you just keep kneading it until you can feel that it is smooth, and then you let it rest. So this is what I'm doing. I'm kneading it until it is smooth. Every time it feels sticky, you can add in flour if it's still not smooth. After 25 years, the dough is finally smooth and we will now let it rise. I'm adding oil into the bowl and I'm pressing oil into the dough as well. I will cover it with cling wrap until the dough rise or becomes double or triple the size. Our dough has finally risen, so we will now prep our workspace again with some flour. Pour in the mixture into our workspace and knead the dough until it is smooth. So I'm just kneading and pressing it in to put some air into it and make it more fluffy. And this is the next step that I'll be doing. I am just folding it in and then pressing some air into it, pushing it basically, forming it into a roll, and then keep doing so. And then I will let it rise or let it sit for 5 minutes. At this point, I can now feel that the dough is bouncing. It's now resisting, and when I pick on it, it's not breaking apart anymore. So it means the dough is almost ready. We just really need to let it rest for 5 more minutes after this. Our dough is almost ready, so we're now putting oil in our loaf pan, and we'll now be brushing some melted butter on our workspace and folding the dough in there. So we'll just start from top. We'll be pressing it in and folding it as we go, rolling it, by the way, from top to bottom, like so. So we're rolling and pressing in air in there. As you can see, it's looking fluffy right now. So when it's rolled, we'll just let it sit for 5 minutes. Okay, after 5 minutes, we will be pressing it in, and we will now fold it again, roll it again, and place it in our loaf pan. After that, we will let it rise in the loaf pan. So make sure that it is folded and smooth. Okay, we will now let it rest. Make sure that while this is rising, while you're waiting for the dough to rise in the loaf pan, you are preheating your oven into 450 Fahrenheit. In that way it's hot and ready. So just brush egg wash or butter. I'm using butter in here, and bake it in the oven for 20 minutes. Our bread is now ready, fresh from the oven. So as you can see, it's so fluffy. It rises so well, and you just have to let it rest, or let it cool down for 20 minutes before you cut it, before you slice it. And then you can brush more butter after. So I hope you tried it and enjoy. Thank you so much. Bye.